What's going on, YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about Nightwing, issue number 125. This one is written by Dan Waters with artwork by Francesco Francavilla. And this one actually jumps a little bit further past the storyline we just kind of got, because the end of the last issue, we had that kid kind of like giving himself a Nightwing patch that he was going to like look at Nightwing as like a gang type leader. We don't really get a follow up to that in this thing. This one kind of jumps ahead to some of the cops within Bloodhaven's like police department, and like one of them gets murdered by this character who like is kind of the best way to describe them is imagine like Mask of the Phantasm, but like a former police officer is kind of getting revenge on the cops who kind of like go a little bit far. So like one of the police officers who murdered one of the kids, who shot one of the kids, was kind of killed off by this guy, and he uses copper bullets because they're like melted down like former like copper shields. So he has to kind of go like point blank range, because if you use copper bullets, it's going to kind of scatter around. It's not nearly as accurate. We also have Maggie Sawyer, who's there investigating the whole situation. She confronts Nightwing. She talks to the police officer who died and goes to meet the wife of said person. And she just seems like, oh yeah, he was kind of abusive, wasn't really the best guy, kind of deal. And Nightwing's there, he confronts her and he's like, look, if I'm going to be investigating this thing, if you need anything, you just kind of let me know. As she heads back to the Bloodhaven Police Department force, and you know, they had this whole thing in the Tom Taylor run of like weaving out like a lot of the corruption, but as it stands, there's still going to be like some leftover things within there. So, and this is like more of like a noir like detective story, focusing more so on Maggie Sawyer. Like Nightwing is more so in the background within the pages of this issue, which I think it works for the storyline they're trying to tell. She eventually gets a call from a former police officer who tells her about what this person is. So they call this guy Captain Hollow, who came for Frank, because you have the law of the land, and you have the law like kind of like a higher like calling. You have like this former like police officer, like he's kind of like the boogeyman to the Bloodhaven police force when they kind of step out of line. And then eventually he shows up, and he has a cool design, has the smoke and fog effect, which, well, assuming it's a he, it could be like a she in there, like Mask of the Phantasm. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's giving me like Mask of the Phantasm vibes with this character, and goes to attack them. She calls it Nightwing, and so like he comes in there. The former police officer gets killed, and you know, Captain Hollow basically escapes to kind of end the issue. So we still have a bit of that supernatural like type of like vibe going on within the pages of Nightwing. We didn't necessarily get a follow-up to him and the kid at the end of the previous issue, but we're still kind of dealing with the fallout of that. Like, you have the person who shot one of the kids, one of the police officers who did, they've been kind of taken out of the picture. So we kind of dropped, I mean, there's still some stuff they kind of mentioned in the background, the spheric stuff, but we don't directly like follow up with that, or that weird nightmarish character that we saw in the previous run. Like, that's just kind of pushed off to the side for something else. But like the something else that we got here with that whole noir focused storyline, I thought was pretty good overall. The artwork is done by somebody different. It's not Dexter Soy this time around, so I still prefer the Dexter Soy artwork, but I think this one works for the kind of that noir style that they're going with you know, the Maggie Sawyer like focused storyline within this one, and her kind of like trying to solve this case of like a cop who got killed and all that stuff. And you know, there's still the corruption within the city, which, you know, the previous run tries like, oh, we weaned out pretty much most of that stuff. Actually no, you really didn't, because you know, this one's a lot more of a darker storyline with Nightwing, a lot more angst. It's not as happy-go-lucky and nowhere near like as lighthearted as the previous. Like, it's such a stark contrast to going from the previous run to kind of this one. So, but this is the start of a new storyline. I'm curious about this Captain Hollow character and like where their abilities come from. I'm getting, like I said, major Batman Mask of the Phantasm vibes with the Phantasm character. With this Captain Hollow, you have the smokes disappearing effect too. Watch it just as like Andrea Beaumont or something. That'd be kind of funny. But hey, only time will tell. So, but overall, Nightwing's still like firing on all cylinders. I'm liking what Dan Waters is doing with the title, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here. So what did you think of it? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications, all their fun stuff. And as always, take care now. Bye-bye then. I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.